One of the things that makes Japanese green teas unique is that they are often shaded prior to the harvest. When the tea plant is cut off from the sunlight, it really changes the composition of the leaf, creating a completely different tasting experience. In this video, we're going to explore different farms around Japan to learn how farmers use the shading method to create incredible green teas. First, let's learn a little bit about the history of shading. In the 15th and 16th century, tea cultivation was still relatively new in Japan. The climate of the main island was a bit cold for the tea plant. A lot of farmers began to cover up the tea plant during the winter and springtime in order to protect the sprouts of the tea plant from the frost. What they found was that this actually yielded a smoother and sweeter flavor. Some farmers began adopting this method not only to protect their tea plants, but also to improve their flavor. We now know that the reason why shaded tea leaves take on a different flavor is that they produce less catechins and more theanine. When the tea leaf is exposed to sunlight, it begins to convert the sweet theanine into more bitter catechins. The plant also produces more chlorophyll, which alters the color of the leaf. To study this concept further, let's take a quick trip to Kumamoto to visit the field of Mr. Fujisako.
Hello, we're here at Mr. Fujisako's organic green tea farm in Kumamoto, and we have here a wonderful example of shaded and unshaded tea. Here, this plant here is unshaded, so you can see that the greenish color or the green color is really nice, bright green, and is rather clear. When we take now a shaded leaf and we put it next to it, here you can really see the difference. So it really gets dark green, filled with chlorophyll and filled with theanine, which theanine is actually an amino acid which makes the tea sweeter in taste and subtle. There's a subtle sweetness and also the umami taste coming more to it, while here you have like more of a vegetable taste with less of this sweetness. So this is the main difference. Theanine is known to be very good if you need more the concentration. It's actually a natural relaxing ingredient of the plant, and it is an amino acid which is very positive or has positive effects for the body. And you have more chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is also known to be very detoxifying. So actually it is said that the shaded tea plant is even better. Fujisako actually, he is shading the tea 2 weeks before the harvest. So the last 2 weeks before the harvest, he's shading his two teas, Hinokuni and Bezaku, and he also has another one, the Tamamidori, which is an unshaded tea.
When we visited the farmer on the island of Yakushima, we got to see shaded tea leaves producing chlorophyll in real time. There was a small hole in the kabuse netting that let light through on some of the tea plants. As you can see, the plants that were exposed to sunlight are much lighter in color compared to those that were not. On that one tea field in Yakushima, there were different tea plants being shaded at different times. Not all teas are shaded for the same length of time. Many sencha teas are shaded for only about 1 week prior to the harvest, which is enough to reduce a significant amount of their bitterness. The two most prized types of teas produced in Japan are Matcha and Gyokuro, and those are shaded for the longest time. To be considered Gyokuro or true high-quality matcha, the tea plant needs to be shaded for at least 3 weeks prior to the harvest. Oftentimes, a farmer will shade Gyokuro in stages. First, they may begin by filtering out 50% of the sunlight with one layer of kabuse netting. After about a week of this, the farmer may then add another layer to cut off 75% of the total sunlight. Finally, for the last week or so leading up to the harvest, the farmer will add a final layer on top of the tea plant to filter out 90% of the sunlight. This intensive shading accelerates the change within the tea leaves and produces a unique savory and sweet flavor that Gyokuro is known for. It's very difficult to keep a tea plant shaded for 3 weeks or more. Even though the shading process can improve the flavor of the tea greatly, it is a stressful time for the plant. The tea plant produces more caffeine to protect itself from insects, which is why long shaded teas like Gyokuro and Matcha are the highest in caffeine. Talented farmers like Mr. Sakamoto and Shibushi are able to grow excellent quality Gyokuro without the use of pesticides or chemicals. The difficulty when it comes to Gyokuro is making the tea plant strong enough to survive for 3 weeks without sunlight. To do this, Mr. Sakamoto creates an innovative fertilizer out of sedimentary rock and organic compost. This allows the plant to absorb nutrients from the ground and stay healthy even as it undergoes a 3-week shading process. Mr. Sakamoto demonstrates the strength of his organic tea plants by comparing them to non-organic tea plants. After 2 weeks, the non-organic tea plant begins to lose its leaves, but the organic tea plant is strong and healthy. This is all made possible through the use of his organic fertilizer. Mr. Sakamoto will often judge the quality of a tea just by examining the leaf. He says that tea leaves that grow without the use of organic fertilizer are missing out on key nutrients, which makes the leaves weaker. He even likes to hold the tea leaves up to the sunlight to see if they are translucent. This means that the tea leaf has a lower cellular density. He will also test a tea leaf by tasting it right off of the plant to assess the quality before the harvest. After the tea plants have been shaded for 3 weeks, they can be harvested. Some gyokuro is hand harvested, so instead of a simple netting over the plant, the farmers will build a scaffolding. This allows enough space for people to come in and pick the tea. All these people gather together underneath the shade to pick tea for 1 day out of the year. When it comes to picking premium Japanese green teas, you want to go for the top 3 sprouts of the tea plant. These will be the sweetest in flavor and the highest in nutrients. More expensive teas like Gyokuro and Sencha will be made from these leaves, while less expensive teas like Bancha will be made from either more mature leaves or later harvests. By using only the top leaves, a farmer is able to create a tea that has an even smoother and sweeter flavor. Shaded teas tend to contain more caffeine, more theanine, and more chlorophyll compared to their non-shaded counterparts. If you are looking for a smoother and sweeter tea, you will want to go for a nice shaded tea like Gyokuro, Kabuseicha, as well as some shaded Sencha teas. Because they have more caffeine and theanine, these teas will also tend to produce more of a calm, alert feeling, which can be great for long periods of work or study. Thank you all so much for watching. We really hope you enjoyed this video about shading and why it's important to the world of Japanese green tea. We'll see you next time.